Come down. Ooh, you make my high come down. Always tripping when you come around. Never have to cut you out like right now. You see, I don't have to drive me. You can say that for your mama. Maybe you should smoke some. Me try the marijuana. I was never you good. The vibe was straight. Showed you a couple of things and they feel strange. I treated you right. Everything was a gift from a time to your bag and the color on your lip.
Welcome to the Seahawks Man to Man podcast, powered by Blue Wire. Shout out to the new company. My name is Michael-Shawn. You guys can follow me on whatever Elon Musk is calling that app these days. My @ name has not changed. It's also right there under my finger there for people watching on YouTube @ Mike Dugar. Speaking of YouTube, appreciate all the love and support on there. People who are liking, comment, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Seahawks Man to Man is the name of the channel. Please do that. Even if you only listen to audio, just go over there, press the buttons, come right back. It means a lot. It helps the channel, helps the show, helps us grow. It's the Instagram, TikTok, same thing as the YouTube, Seahawks Man, the #2 man. So thank you in advance for just supporting all those platforms. Even if you're just only like walking your dog and listening right now on Spotify, just do that for us. Come right back. Finish walking your dog. Thank you. Chris, go ahead and talk to him.
What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Christopher Kid. You can follow me on Blue Sky and Twitter at CKIDD206, and that's CKid206.
All right. Midweek episode, a two-parter, as usual. First, we watched the film. We got our one big thing that we're going to discuss from watching the Seahawks beat the snot out of the Vikings 26-0. First shutout in 10 years. Shout out to Max Brosmer for not being good at football. Second half of the show, we will look ahead to Seahawks versus the Falcons, week 14 down in Atlanta. To do that, we enlisted the expertise of the homie Tori McElhaney. She covers the Falcons for the Falcons. Senior writer over there. So she'll give us all that insight on Bijan Robinson and company. See how I got that name right that time. Yes, we'll do that in the back half of the show. But first, Chris and I have watched the tape. We have analyzed. We have taken notes. We have clipped clips. I guess clips. How you say that? Yes. Chris, the Seahawks won, so you're up. That was your one big thing from watching the Seahawks blank the Vikings.
Absolutely. One big thing for me, I had to go with Rashid Shaheed. Everyone knows by now he's been with the Seahawks for a month, and the Seahawks, they gave up something to get him. They traded the man. They traded for the man, I should say. They traded a 4th and a 6th round picks to the Saints to get Rashid Shaheed.
4th and 5th.
I mean, it's 4th and 5th. My apologies. 4th and 5th round picks. Going into it, this seemed like it was going to make a lot of sense, right? Mike and I were all in on the deal, assuming at the time Kupp could or would miss time with that hamstring injury. Kupp did, in fact, miss the Commanders game in week 8, but he did return the following week in week 9 versus, I want to say, the Arizona Cardinals. So right then and there, okay, well, how is this going to play out? Do they really need a guy like that? And then, unfortunately, the #2 wideout, who was showcasing a lot of skill set and looked very promising, in Tori Horton, he ended up having his best game against Commanders as he finished with 4 catches and 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. So we're thinking, okay, well, they just got this guy. And then about a month ago, he was put on IR, actually put on IR a week ago. So now you guys see it's all working out for the Seahawks in terms of getting a guy to come in and fill a void at wide receiver that they felt, okay, we can get a little more effort, get something else other than what you have with Cooper Kupp and JSN. Or if Cooper Kupp was going to miss time, it would be JSN and Tori Horton. But now with Tori Horton out, you slide in Rashid Shaheed, and you would think everything that he was doing with the Saints, he could be he could be doing with the Seahawks. His ability to beat teams over the top, you name it. And the Seahawks were also looking for depth at that position. So the move still makes sense in my head, just as I mentioned, with Tori Horton missing time. He's on IR. He's going to miss about 2-3 more weeks. I think it's actually 4, He's going to miss a month. So when you look at it, on paper, it all makes sense. But if you go back and you look at how things have gone, in that it hasn't been great for Rashid Shaheed, right? So through 4 games, Shahid has only 4 catches for 37 yards. He's been targeted 11 times. Pairing him with the best receiver in the NFL this season, who is JSN, you would think the numbers would be far better, a lot better. But I get it. A couple things come into play. You're learning a bunch of plays. You're on a new team. The quarterback don't know who you are. There's a lot that goes into this formula to make it successful. And my apologies. Week 8 was a bye. Week 9 was the Commanders, the game that Cup missed. So my apologies on getting the weeks mixed up. But back to the point at hand in regards to Rasheed fitting in with Sam. There were a couple of plays that I remember just in my head on the Rolodex where he runs through the zone and maybe Sam Darnold's expecting him to throttle down. So instead of him throttling down, Shahid runs through the zone. Sam's throwing to a spot where he should be sitting down, but he runs through it, so the ball's behind him. That's a drop pass. Oh, everybody's yelling, Shahid, what are you doing? Yelling at Darnold. That's a bad pass. No, in theory, Shahid's supposed to slow down and sit in that zone for a window. And then you get Yak, which is JSN's, he's gold at that. He'll catch it in the zone, make a guy miss, get upfield, and then hit the deck. Completely understand that. There's just not a lot of time between these guys pairing and working out together. And you're seeing it. And another thing, Mike actually told me this off wax. We were talking about Rashid Shaheed and his production hasn't been there. And he was like, well, shoot. You know who also got traded that was playing for the Las Vegas Raiders? Coby Myers. He was traded from the Raiders to the Jags. And you know what? Let me read you his numbers real quick, guys. Now, I know it's apples and oranges because it's 2 different teams, obviously. But the point is, they are able to bring in a playmaker who they thought would help their team. And you know what he's doing? He's making plays. So when you look at Coby Myers, since he joined the Jags, he has 18 catches for 245 yards. And not to mention, he's been targeted 21 times. He also has 2 touchdowns. So he's been targeted 21 times and has 18 catches. There's only 3 plays that just like, oops, maybe it was a pass broken up, whatever the case may be. That's really efficient. And that's what I would imagine the Seahawks fans are like, yeah, what the hell? Why can't Rashid Shaheed get those same opportunities? And I think I touched on a little bit of it, just being on a new team and not having that connection. But for some reason, Coby Myers and Trevor Lawrence have it figured out. I haven't sit up there and watched what they're doing, but with Shaheed, he has that unique skill set that I think sets him apart from a lot of receivers in the NFL. He's very explosive. If he's not the most explosive, obviously you can argue Jameson Williams sits in that category. We can go on the list of guys that one play, it could be a touchdown. The Seahawks have to unlock that. And when I went back and watched the tape of the game, there were a few plays that showcased that ability, but things just didn't go the Seahawks' way. But versus the Vikings, Shahid had 19 routes, and he ran deep routes on 6 of them. All right? So the first one that caught my attention, I like the design, I like the play. The Seahawks are in 12 personnel. So this is a potential for them to run the football. But I'll be honest, if I'm a DB and I see Rashid Shaheed and the personnel grouping, I'm thinking, ain't no way in hell they're relying on Shaheed to run block here. That's just not his strength. His strength is taking the top off the defense. So on this first play that I'm referring to, Shaheed starts off on the right side. They motion him across and from the right side of the formation to the left. And at the snap, he's going to explode up the field. Now, this is all setting up to be a shot play. And this is something that he does really well at. When he was with the Saints, they were throwing deep balls to him week in and week out, and he was scoring touchdowns. This is one of those plays where it's a shot play for him, and it's a perfect situation. It's 2nd and 1. So, yeah, sure. You know what? And this personnel group, they could easily run the football, and Shaheed could just run a dummy route. There are plenty of times where Tyler Lockett, when he was a Seahawk, he would do that. The ball, it's a run play, but he's running a route because when you're a DB, you always play the pass first. Your responsibility is not the run. When that ball is snapped, you are supposed to cover everything deep, whatever your zone, whatever you're playing man, you are covering your man. Now, obviously, when you see the play as it unfolds, you realize, oh, I got to get off the block and make a play. But your first responsibility is the pass. So that's what DBs are going to worry about. They're going to worry about the pass. So Shahid, if he's in that game and they're running the football, he could easily run a route and the DB will likely go with him. And then afterwards, he'll realize, oh, it's a run play. Shahid didn't make a key block. Maybe that results in a negative play or instead of a touchdown, and it's a 16, 17-yard game. There's negatives within that, but the point still stands. Rashid Shaheed is coming in motion, and the Vikings do a good job of being prepared for it. They sit on it. No one gets out of place. And another thing is Sam is looking his direction. When he gets to the top of his drop, he wants to deliver the ball. But number 7, Byron Murphy, the cornerback, he is in really good position. He is able to see ball, and he's able to see Sam, and he has his ass to the sideline where Shahid is at. So he can feel, okay, this is a deep shot play here, and it's one-on-one. And then also from the inside, you have JSN who was on that side, because remember, Shahid motioned across the field. JSN is on the left-hand side. I didn't even tell you guys to begin with, but it doesn't really matter. JSN runs about a 18, 19-yard curl route, deep curl. And that sucks in. Gosh, that came off wrong. That draws attention from Harrison Smith, who's going to take that. So in theory, this play is working out pretty well. You were saying, okay, you got one-on-one with the DB. This could be a shot play, but the DB does a really good job of sitting on top of it. If Sam wants to throw it, he could throw that. I wouldn't recommend it because I think Murphy's just sitting on it. But maybe, just maybe, he makes a great play on the ball and he's able to make it come down with the catch. I do love the concept, but the pressure, again, forces Sam to basically scramble out to his left and just throw it away. But the opportunity was there. So it has to be perfectly executed. And that's just one example. I have another one for you. And this one, I think, would have been a touchdown because it was a couple of things had to go right, obviously, and that's the name of the game. You have to have everything go right. So this is an empty formation, and what they're going to do, it's 1st and 10. They have K9 lined up far right, and they motion him. He's the outside receiver. He's far right outside receiver. You have Shahid, who's lined up in the slot on the left-hand side next to A.J. Barner, who's tight end, extra blocking, and then you have Cooper Kupp, and you have, I want to say, JSN on the right side. And they're going to motion in K9. Obviously passing down here. K9's in the backfield. Empty formation. Cool. On this route is beautiful. All right. When the snap happens, Shahid is moving. When I paused it, I want to say 2 strides into this, he has basically a lot of room, a lot of area to work with. And it's a skinny post. The safety, his eyes are on the quarterback. Obviously, when the quarterback's eyes move to the middle of the field, the safety moves. But, you have pressure coming in from number 50. And this dude, what's his name is? Levi Rodriguez. He just beat Gray Zabel off the rip. Snap happens. One move. The ball's already thrown. Sam didn't even give it time to see if anything would develop. I don't think Sam figured, my left guard's going to get beat. But the play happened to work where, I get it, Cooper Kupp was open in the flat. So he takes that pass and he rips it to him immediately. Kupp is able to make a guy miss and get some positive yards out of it. But my goodness, if this play was blocked up a little better, I think you have a huge opportunity for a shot play. Because if you guys might have seen any highlights or clips of Rashid Shaheed, he is capable of beating the safety over the top. He has really crisp routes and he's shifty as hell. And just one little head turn one way, his speed can take it off and there's nothing you can do. Because once he's at the top of his speed, nobody's catching this guy. I've seen plenty of deep balls where, it was the Cowboys last season. Matter of fact, he split both safeties. One safety did a really poor job of turning his hips, and the other safety, he just outran. I don't know what he was looking at. Maybe the safeties are just ass over there in Dallas, at least last year on that play specifically. But the point is, Rashid Shaheed has that capability, and the Seahawks have to find that and execute it so that they can get those big plays, so that he can be a weapon in this offense because he's very capable of doing that, especially with JSN. JSN's getting double teamed by the Vikings. And obviously, unfortunately for the Seahawks, it was just a really bad performance, so nothing was working. But I'm like, ooh, if they had just a half a second and Sam wanted to deliver that, I think you might be looking at a big play, a touchdown of what? Let me see if I can do some math here. So it's at the 30. You're looking at a 60, 66, 70-yard bomb. I'm not saying he's going to throw it 50-plus yards, but you get my point. Those opportunities are there, but they just got to execute better. And obviously, this is a very small sample size, as there are 3 other games that he played in that I'm not looking at and going over. But in the instance where, okay, offensive line didn't do their best job blocking there, Sam got rid of it pretty quickly. I understand that. And then on the first play, just Sam ran out of time. The offensive line, or K9, couldn't hold off on that linebacker that was sending pressure. They only sent 5 on that first play, where Sam Darnold has to roll to his left, and then he ends up just throwing it away. On the second play, it was instant pressure, but Sam had already delivered the ball. He already made up his mind. Maybe he knew this pressure was coming, and he wanted to just get rid of it, and that's good on Sam. But it'd be nice if they had just executed at a level where they can attack it deep, because I think Shahid has opportunities to do so. It's just everything around him isn't working. Now, another interesting tidbit after doing some research and looking it up, because they're going to be playing the Falcons for the Week 14 matchup, as Mike alluded to earlier on the show, is the Falcons are second in blitz rate at 39.5% behind the Minnesota Vikings. I'm interested on how they plan on sending pressure. You guys saw what the Vikings did. They might mug 6 to 7 dudes at the line, or 6 guys at the line of scrimmage, and they drop off 2. Oh, it's only a 4-man rush. But because the protections were all screwed up, someone missed a block here and there, you get a free rusher, and now Sam's under duress, and he has nowhere to go. He gets sacked. He fumbles the football. You guys remember how that went. So I'm curious as how Jeff Ulbrich and that defense, he's a defensive coordinator for the Falcons, how they will address getting pressure on Sam, because getting pressure on Sam just erases that deep ball. If it's blocked up perfectly, you got one-on-ones. And you've seen throughout the season, when JSN is one-on-one, he wins those battles. And that's because he's an elite route runner, great late hands. But one thing he doesn't have is that speed that Shahid has. And that's where I think the Seahawks can use him. One-on-one with a safety, that should be a win for Shahid every time. But because of the pressure, because of the miscues, he's not getting those opportunities. So on Sunday, I'm thinking this could be his game, his best performance this season. Maybe he doesn't score a touchdown, but I'm thinking he can have 5 catches for 75 yards, maybe even more, because his game-breaking ability is there. They just haven't unlocked it yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, how the Falcons attack Sam and the Seahawks offense with JSN playing the way he did. Because for one thing, the Falcons are not going to just go out there and do what the Vikings did. It's just not going to happen. They don't have the personnel. That's just not their style on how Jeff does his defense. But that doesn't mean he won't blitz. He will send blitzes. It's just going to be curious and see how the Falcons mitigate that. Or the Seahawks, not mitigate, how the Seahawks respond to it. How do they find matchups? Okay, they're blitzing here. Let's see. Can we bring in A.J. Barr to chip here? Because all you need is time for these play-action shot plays. And when you get a play-action shot play, I think Shahid's definitely going to be a beneficiary, and can make plays from it. So that's my one big thing after watching the tape is, yeah, they were doing some stuff. It just wasn't executed the way they needed it to be. And to be honest, it hasn't been since he's been in Seattle. So moving forward, I'm hoping it starts on Sunday where, you know what, you see a deep ball. He has caught in a few passes that are deep out routes for like 17, 18 yards, but it hasn't been that. That's why Rashid Shaheed's in Seattle. 45-yard bomb over the middle on a post, or he just runs by the DB on a go ball after a play action pass or a double move. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. So hopefully on Sunday against the Falcons, the Seahawks can unlock that and get him deep downfield, because again, with JSN playing the way he is, I think it's right there for the Seahawks to get going. And the run game is okay. If you have an okay running game, linebackers are going to come up, safeties are going to come up, because they want to do what? Stop the run. So that's been my one big thing after going back and looking at the film from the Seahawks Week 13 matchup.
Let's see what numbers I got to strengthen that for you. You mentioned Jacoby Myers. Yes. Okay. You want to hear the rest of the guys who got traded at the deadline? What they've done with their new
Oh,
teams?
what you got, man?
So Jacoby's the best. Like you said, 18 catches, 245 yards, 2 scores, 13 first downs, by the way, for Jacoby. So like he went cut over there and started cooking. Adonai Mitchell was in that Sauce Gardner trade. He's with the Jets now. He's only played 3 games with them. He's already got 11 catches for 154 yards and a touchdown. Now, most of that came against the Falcons just a few
Look
days
at that.
ago. So you're right. You could be foreshadowing a little bit that Shahid goes off. Adonai has 7 first downs though already. Also forgot about John Mechie, former Texans high draft pick. He's been traded a few times. It feels like he is now with. Actually, he might be with the Jets too. Yeah, he is. He has. Let me pull this up. 14 catches for 132 yards. Let's see, 2 touchdowns since week 10. He sure does. Since week 10, yeah. And 7 first downs as well. So that puts in perspective, I think, the lack of usage. Like it ain't just show up on new team, get acclimated. These guys are all doing the same thing that Shahid is doing. And they're not doing it with their former coordinator, like Shahid is as well. He was supposed to hit the ground running. And so far, last number thing. How about this for you, Chris? Tori Horton in his 1 game as wide receiver 2 had 4 catches for 48 yards and 2 scores. That outproduces Shahid in all 4 games that he's played from a receiver standpoint. I don't really care about him running the ball because he's a receiver.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up. It's a non-factor. It's whatever. You put him back there, cool. Ken Walker had his biggest run this season off a toss. So you telling me Rasheed's supposed to do what? He ain't going to score. This offensive line hasn't been consistent enough. Your best running back hasn't scored on a long run yet. So whatever.
Yeah, and he has more rushing attempts Shahid does than receptions in 4 games. Just totally, I think I'm with you. I think I'll go off against the Falcons, but because I think they're all seeing this tape that we're seeing and being like, "Hey, this is giving us Percy Harvin vibes." So why don't we actually use the guy that we traded for? The conversation is not the same, but the idea of like we got a guy who does a thing, he's not doing the thing, so let's get him to do the thing. So it was really staggering. Actually, was to look up what those other guys are doing on those new teams. Like, why can't he do that? They need that. They traded for him to do that, so he should do that and stop catching punts inside the 5. He should. That's just a him thing, though. He should stop doing that. All right, cool. Let's go to the other side of the ball. I'm gonna write about what Chris just talked about this week too, because that just there. Oh, actually, Chris, I got one more thing, one more number to help you with this. Here, not help, but to add to this. So, JSN accounts for over 45% of Seattle's receiving yards. Not only is that the highest number in the NFL, that would be the second highest number this century if that held. Only Brandon Marshall in 2012 has taken up more of his team's receiving yards. He was at 45.7.
Is that the year he had 22 receptions?
Oh, in a game? I have to look that up. If it was 2012, then yes. So that shows you like they are historically reliant on Jackson to be explosive. And I bring up the explosives because, like you said, that's what Shahid does. Jackson has 30 catches. Sam leads the league in explosive pass rate, right? Cool. Jackson has 30 explosive catches. That's at least 16 yards, right? No one else on the Seahawks has more than 9, which is Cooper Kupp. He has 9. That's 21 catch gap. Now that may not sound like much, but then you go start and look at all the other teams who have all those explosives or explosive play rates up there with Sam, Jared Goff, Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Jordan Love. Like all those guys are spreading the wealth a lot more. Like with Jordan Love, it's Christian Watson and Dobbs. With Daniel Jones, it's Alec Pierce and Tyler Warren. With Jared Goff, it's it's Amon-Ra and JMO. Like they're spreading the wealth. Even Josh is spreading it to Kincaid and Shakir at a more like even distribution than what it is. Right now, the Seahawks are just jacks or bust, and they need to get the ball to Shahid. That's a fact. All right. A little tangent there, but I thought those numbers stuck out to me while you were mentioning that. So yeah, on my side of the ball, my one big thing was the spine of Seattle's defense, and by that I just mean the interior D line, inside linebackers, and then your safeties, where like you're up the middle of your defense, because that was really weak last year. Well, I guess the front was like good, but then like behind that, it was just yucky. You had just inside linebackers that were not good, safeties that were not good, which is why they changed those guys out and they have new guys. But then right now, not only because last year I think they got to like a competent place with their spine. Now, Chris, I think we're looking at like the best in the league at that. You know, like you look at some of these other teams who have other great defenses. I don't know if their spines are as strong. They might be like Houston's defense is just as good as Seattle's, if not better. But they're better on the edges, like with not Sauce, Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter at corner. Aziz Al-Shir is good, probably just about as good as Ernest, if not better. But their interior guys are not as good as like Leo and Murph. Whereas Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter are as good as it gets as a pass rush tandem. So Houston's built a little bit differently. Denver's built differently too. They bring it from the edge there with Benito and the Cooper's the other guy. Zach Allen's good, but he doesn't have the running mate that like Leo has and Murph. And Coby Bryant is as good as any of those guys at safety, maybe along with Caleb Bullock in Houston. So, and I bring that up in this game because this game, let's ignore the splash plays for a little bit. And that's going to sound crazy. Chris and I were talking about this before we recorded. Splash plays are great. Like Drake Thomas, for instance, has 7 tackles for loss, 5 PBUs, and 3.5 sacks this season. That is like if I told you that Fred Warner had those stats, you'd be like, oh, give Fred Warner Defensive Player of the Year. Like those are nuts numbers. But for me, and then Ernest Jones like leads all linebackers with interceptions. He has 5. I think that's second in the league. Byron Murphy has 7 sacks. Leo has 7 sacks. They lead all defensive tackles. Coby has 3 picks. He's up there with all the safeties in the league, except for Byard and the Bears, who has 6. So they're giving you the splash plays. But I think what really stood out in this game, and this is how you shut a team out in addition to making those splash plays, just like down-to-down consistency, we are looking at, Chris, I think the best defensive tackle duo in the league. Teams cannot do nothing with Murph and Leo. That is it's a nasty tandem. It really is the best in the biz right now. There are some guys who maybe individually are playing as good as Leo or Murph just by themselves. Again, Zach Allen in Denver is, I know not a Broncos pod, but trust me, he's balling. Who's the other guy? Jeffrey Simmons. He is a monster. Like he was handling Gray. Him and Gray had good war, but I thought Jeff won that. His team is just buns. Like those guys individually might be playing as good as Leo, but then Leo has Murph next to him playing just as good, and it's ridiculous. Really, you saw it in this game, and more so like down to down. Like I think the sequence that really stood out, like for Leo, is 4-play sequence. He on 3rd and whatever it was, he basically like runs a pick for Chenna to get a sack on the opening series. Now the sack gets wiped out because Josh Jobe got called for holding. But the point is, it was Leo being the setup man. Not in the stats, just all right, I'm gonna just help my guy. Boom, he gets the sack. The very next play, Leo's damn near in the backfield, 1-yard tackle. The very next play, he splits a double team, goes and pressures Brosmer. Very next play, he sacks Brosmer. Like it's just down to down to down. You just can't. These guys are too tough. Murph is the same way. He's just pushing the pocket, taking on doubles. Like a couple of those plays that Ernest, to speak of the rest of the spine, was making. Like Ernest had 12 tackles in the game, but like some of those were just straight up. I'm playing off. They can't block Murph, so I got a free shot. Basically at the quarterback. Like Ernest said, I think a couple tackles in this game for like 1 or 2 yards. Just including on the drive that set up his pick 6. Like the reason they're on short yardage, I think, is because Ernest had a big tackle on the first play of that drive in the red zone. It's incredible to contrast the two teams, like last year's spine and this year's spine. Like we're looking at like an elite level in interior. And when you have the middle locked down, even if they had scrubs on the perimeter, this would be a good defense. But because they have the middle locked down, and then if you do have to throw it, you're throwing it at Reek or Jobe, 2 guys who are playing at a borderline Pro Bowl level, I would say. I think Reek is for sure right now. The fact that you have that and you can't throw no seams or no posts, I want you guys to think right now, all the Seahawks games you've watched, just close your eyes right now. When's the last time you saw someone catch a post route on the Seahawks? You haven't. Number 8 playing for the Seahawks, that's why. I can't even think, Chris. I think the last one is the one Emeka Ibuka caught for a touchdown in week 5. Over Pritchett. I think that's the last time that happened. And I think Coby whiffed on that. It ain't happened since. Like, this is just high level ball in the middle, the teeth of the defense, like where the meat and potatoes are at, from the safeties straight through the middle. You're seeing it in Drake Thomas. Like I said, 7 TFLs is ridiculous. Like, Drake Thomas's numbers like are ridiculous, but forget that. On a snap to snap, he is making plays, tackling really well. All these guys I mentioned are tackling really well. Coby coming downhill, even Ty Okada too. Ty Okada's coming downhill really well. But I think between Coby, 2 backers, Leo and Murph, like in this game, I think a big reason why they could not score and could not get the ball to Justin and into Jordan, besides Rosemer stinking, was you just can't do nothing with the middle of the defense right now. It's really impressive to watch. Like, Drake has some room to grow, I think, in coverage still, but that's where Coby and Ty show up. Again, like, you're not seeing a lot of seams and posts. Like, you saw a seam on Sunday. Hawkinson had one, right? And that it looked like that was Nick Imawari's fault very clearly. And that's why it jumped out to me. I was like, how the hell did they get a seam ball? And they showed the replay. I was like, Nick got beat inside. There we go. But you're just not really seeing a lot of that. And you can say, oh, where was Coby? Where was our safety? Those explosive run numbers. Seahawks don't give up explosive runs. They have the best run defense in the league. Like, it's the middle. You just can't go up the middle. And then if you try to hit the perimeter, the linebackers are moving side to side. Ernest was all over the place in this game, making solo tackles Ernest had in this goddamn game. Like, it felt like Ernest was everywhere, and like a real everywhere too. That's going to be hard to explain, a real everywhere, but I feel like you guys know what I mean. He has 7 solo tackles in this game, but yeah, beyond the splash plays, I think what we're seeing is down to down dominance, and that's really what you need. I think splash plays are great, they are, but they're not all created equal. And we were talking about this too, Chris and I. Like, I made the point, Ernest again has 5 interceptions. 3 of those are largely Ernest just being in the right place at the right time. Like, Brosmer just threw that right to him. I don't think that required it. Very similar to D-Law's scooping scores. Like, that's great. Those are great plays by D-Law. But the standout play to me is T Knight making the sack. And then D-Law just picked it up, ran in, didn't juke nobody, ain't do nothing. Those are great plays, but I think when you're talking about like impact, these guys are making impact like 2-yard gains, 3-yard gains. Their PBUs, again, Drake Thomas, like 5 PBUs. I think that leads all linebackers. Like, what? I didn't even know this guy was like that. I think his leg was broke when they even hired Mike McDonald. I think he broke it in Baltimore, or a knee or something like that. So the what these guys are doing on tape is just really it's remarkable on a down to down. And I think when I go look at like how guys should get paid, and like who's better than who or whatever, that's what I'm looking at more than the splash stuff. Again, is great. I think Mike McDonald does a really good job putting guys in position to do that. Like Ernest's pick against the Texans, it's a great pressure. They knew where CJ Stroud would want to go. Ernest drops exactly where he's supposed to be, catches the ball. Like, that's a great play, as opposed to like his pick in week 4, which is like, yes, Marvin Harrison just drops the ball, it goes right to you. They're both good plays, they're both impact plays, but I think there's a difference between like you going and making a play and the ball finding you. Both are good for your team, but like one of them speaks to, I think, a high level of ball, and that's what those guys are playing with right now. And yeah, a little bit back to Murph and Leo, Chris, I feel like even the Legion of Boom didn't have interior play this good. Like, this is different stuff. To have 2 guys who can rush the passer from the middle like that, you know how tough. Like, think of how dominant the Chiefs are or were when Chris Jones was killing, or how good all those Aaron Donald Rams teams were, just because they have that one guy in the middle. Seahawks have 2 of those. And then if you dare take it outside, how would you like some DeMarcus Lawrence? I would like some Chenanu Wosu. And those guys are like good, not elite pass rushers, but because they get all these ops because Mike McDonald's a sicko, and then because their interior is crazy. And Max Brosmer felt that. Like, this was probably the worst possible matchup for him to have his first start on the road in Seattle. Playing against that defense, they were blitzing him out the ass. Just ridiculous. Spoon like blitzed every other snap. Even Warrior blitzing every other snap. Drake Thomas shooting in like a rocket. It's just on a play-by-play, it's really dynamic. I think it's what's gonna if this team why it's one of the main reasons I think this team is playing at championship level on defense. Because if you don't have that like you can't give the Seahawks body blows, because that would require you work in the middle of the field. You basically gotta knock the Seahawks out with explosives somehow, some way, either bombing it over the corners. I mean, just look at the explosive they have allowed. It's stuff like that. Remember that play against the Steelers, Krista, where everyone missed a tackle on Jalen Warren, like half the damn defense. Like it's stuff like that, Or when Reek just misplayed a couple balls in San Fran, couple busted coverages against the Bucks when they were shorthanded in the secondary. Like it's the fact that I can't even remember all the explosives off the top of my head shows you how few they are. And if you don't have the explosives, you can't run the ball. You can't work the middle of the field with your wideouts. The Seahawks don't give up anything to wideouts. I think they're the best team in the league covering receivers. So you basically got to throw it to your tight ends or your running backs. That's it. Good luck doing that. Now the Colts will be an interesting one when they play them. But yeah, my one big thing from watching that tape, it reaffirmed what I've already thought, but it just really popped out in the shutout, which is just like Mike Macdonald has done a good job coaching up and fixing and maintaining what was broken last year, which is the middle of the defense. They were getting run on. Tight ends were killing them. The middle of the field was a joke off play action. It was just so bad. And now, even without Julian Love, they're doing this. Even with rotating linebackers seemingly every other week next to Drake Thomas, they're doing this. It really is. It's stuff that I know you guys listen to us, so you're probably not watching a lot of other games around the league. Trust us. Other teams are not playing at this level. If they are, they're winning with a different way. Like the Rams win because you can't block their edge guys, and their safeties are super opportunistic. And every once in a while, Emmanuel Forbes is Darrell Revis. Either that or he's Trey Flowers. He has no in between. He was the latter on the Panthers game, which is why they lost. He gave up a bazillion yards. Yeah, he was getting barbecued. But yeah, they just win differently than the Seahawks do. Same thing with Houston, Denver. Baltimore's defense is good in a different way. So yeah, what the Seahawks have right now, I think is very sustainable. It's almost like redefining what's a premium position in the league. We can maybe talk about that in the offseason. But yeah, one big thing, that teeth of that defense, the best defensive tackle duo in the league. Two linebackers playing at an extremely high level and a Pro Bowl safety as well. On top of all the other talent you got, it really is. The Seahawks are an embarrassment of riches right now. This defense is good enough to get them to the bowl. I think it is. No matter if they don't throw the ball to Shahid ever. This defense, I think, is that good. I really do think so.
Well, that is true. Unless the defense can put up 14 points, that'll be a tough Super Bowl to win. You might need 21 depending on who you play, but the defense is definitely showcasing that, yeah, when it's all said and done, the Seahawks could be in that final game to win it all because their defense has been playing that good. And when you have two dominant guys up front and you have a good secondary and a good linebacker, it just makes hell for offenses. And you're seeing it. A la, if you look at what happened with the Vikings. Rookie quarterback out there. Good luck, buddy. And you saw it. He looked lost. 53 yards. 53 yards to end the first half, and it didn't get much better. So when you put everything together, you look at what this defense is doing, is definitely special. But that has been our one big thing. So coming up next, we'll have Tori McElhaney. She covers the Falcons for the Atlanta Falcons, believe it or not.
Yep.
You like that? That was some suspense there. So we'll get into the question. AJ Terrell, you guys remember him? Last time the Seahawks played the Falcons, DK Metcalf was being shadowed by him. Well, there's a new sheriff in town. His name is Jackson Smith-Njigba. How's that matchup going to go? Have an interesting stat about Kyle Pitts. Interesting. Kyle Pitts could be the factor in the Seahawks winning or losing this game, believe it or not. Can they slow down Bijan Robinson? He's elite. He's one of them ones that one play, he could be out of there. And we'll also look at the defense that has turned things around for the Falcons, but their run defense is not that good. So maybe K9 has a great day. We'll get into all of that with Tori coming up next.
All right, without further ado, we have a special guest joining us on the pod, as we mentioned, to preview Seahawks Falcons in Week 14. She is a senior reporter, got to get that in there, senior reporter for the Atlanta Falcons, Tori McElhaney. Tori, what's up? How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing well. I think as well as can be expected, like with how things are in Atlanta right now, but I'm doing fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah, the Falcons are 4-8. Yeah.
Yep.
Raheem and the Falcons have done a good job losing some games that I'm sure infuriate teams or the fan base. I would imagine losses to teams like the Jets and the Dolphins and swept by the Panthers. You got that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's tough. There's some games I feel like I don't know all of them because I'm not in the Atlanta world like you are. There it feels like there are probably just some games like, hey man, just don't lose this one. Yeah, they've done that.
Yeah, I think there have been a number of them, I think. And, even going back to week 1 against Tampa, going back to being shut out against the Carolina Panthers in week 3, losing 6 of their last 7, like going on a 5-game losing streak. I mean, this is something I've been covering this team now for 5 years, and this is kind of a losing streak that I have, even in kind of the ups and downs of the last 5 years, have not really experienced.
So, it's early in the week, so maybe you don't know, but I gotta. I'm a Raheem Morris guy.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of players who have played for him, and he's just one of those guys like I'll run through wall for him, and they'll say that off the record. He's just like in a side off to the side chat, not because they're trying to make the coach look good on camera or anything. Even like Bobby Wagner is one of those guys. He's like, it's like Raheem, that's my guy. He knows what he's doing, blah, blah. I think Jalen Ramsey to give another like star player example. So like I want to believe this is working, but how's he holding this together amid these tough times right now?
I think that it is good that he has such a good, to your point, like good relationships with a lot of these players. And it kind of has this understanding of like, he's always been a player's guy. He's always been a player's first coach. But to a certain extent, I do think that only goes so far. And when you're not winning games, it's going to be human nature you hope that there's no finger pointing, but there is a lot of vitriol from the fan base right now that is warranted. I mean, you can't go into this season with the expectations that not only you set, but I think the broader NFL landscape said that this was supposed to be a playoff caliber team. This was supposed to be the team that got you out of this playoff drought. You had Drake London, Bijan Robinson, you had Michael Penix taking over at quarterback. You had an entire offensive line that was returning from last year who's played a lot of snaps together. And you had completely retooled your defense. You have a new defensive coordinator in Jeff Ulbrich. You have a lot of young guys. You spent 2 first-round picks on edge rushers. I mean, there was a lot of excitement, as much excitement as I had seen around Atlanta going into this season. And the fact that we're now sitting here going into week 14 and you're 4-8 and you've lost 6 of your last 7. I mean, that's kind of like, it's kind of a shell shock of the system. So when it comes to Raheem Morris, he's got to figure out a way to not lose the locker room at this point in time. Like that's kind of where you are when you're losing this much, when a team is underperforming as much as the Falcons are, like that kind of has to be priority number 1.
What do you think went wrong this season for it to get this way?
Gosh, there's a lot of things. I think that it's not I hate to use like coach speak, but it's not just one thing. Like it really is. Like there have been very obvious issues on special teams. I mean, they've had 3 different kickers over the course of the first 10 weeks of the season. Since the start of last year, I believe that they've only made like 73% of their field goals, which is second to last in the league. So you had some issues in special teams dating back to last year. That's on one side of the ball. That's one phase of the game. Offensively, you were not able to score early. You were having serious red zone issues early. And then you're having third down issues. At one point, the Falcons had less than 20% third down conversion percentages. I mean, it's just like the offensive operation, if Bijan Robinson wasn't working, if Bijan Robinson was taken out of the game, like there was no real counterpunch of which to see. So there's all of that for the offense. And then the defense, I'll say this, like I do think the defense has exceeded expectations. It's the one thing about this team that has been good and has been dependable. Like they have had some moments here and there where they've kind of faltered, but for the most part over the 14 weeks of this season, they went out and they fixed their pass rush. This is now a very good team that can get after the quarterback in terms of this defensive front specifically. So that's kind of where everything stands, but a lot of the main conversations has to be around the offense and the offense underperforming what the expectation was when you have 4 first-round draft picks, young, exciting, dynamic picks that you're not seeing any significant production from to the point of like being able to win games.
Well, I'm sorry for all of our listeners that aren't going to see this, but Tori, let me see your best impersonation of the Kirko.
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
There it
Oh,
is.
wow.
Just right there.
Kirko change.
Just right
Kirko
there.
change.
Every time.
Well, he is back.
He is.
Unfortunately for Michael Penix, who went down with an injury that put him out for this season. Last year, when Kirk Cousins took on the Seahawks, my man was playing like he was in a pool. He was stiff and couldn't move, but they managed to score 14 points, and that was it. How has Kirk looked since taking over for Michael Penix this season?
He's looked, I think, a lot better, a lot healthier, honestly, he looks more like the Kirk Cousins pre-injury. I think that there are still some issues that the Falcons are having with their receiver core. Not having Drake London the last couple of weeks, I do think has made an impact. So, but in terms of just what Kirk Cousins has provided for this offense, he has provided a bit of stability in a time where your quarterback position is very much in flux and you don't know really what's going to happen in 2026. But Kirk Cousins, for the most part, and I do think that he has been very adamant about incorporating more under center play action than what had previously been shown over the last 2 years. I mean, this is a team that they run out of pistol a lot, all the time, more than any other team in the NFL. And a part of their game that had been missing is this under center play action. And it wasn't really something that they felt like they could do last year because of what you're talking about, because of Kirk Cousins coming off of that season-ending Achilles injury. So they didn't feel like they could do that then. And then you have Michael Penix come in who, for some reason or another, they don't feel like that play action under center is something that he's comfortable, confident enough in. At least that's what it looks like from the outside looking in. And then you have Kirk Cousins come in and he's like, hey, this is what I've been doing. This is who I am. Like, let's incorporate more of this into the game plan. And they've had some success, especially against the Saints. They had some success doing it. So I'm curious to see how much of that actually morphs into the rest of the season. But that is something that if you're looking at just offensive tendencies and the impact of Kirk Cousins being in the pocket, like that part of it is most noticeable.
Man, the Falcons start December facing one of the best defenses in the NFL versus the Seahawks. And then to end it in December, they go against the Rams.
Yeah.
That's fun. So with this being the situation where they're facing one of the best defenses on Sunday, is there any hope that Kirk Cousins can handle business without maybe Drake London?
It's a great question. And, we talked to Raheem Morris yesterday about what Drake London's status is going to be. He did say that they were moving him to more of a day-to-day status. And he did say that he did feel a bit better about Drake London coming back to play this Sunday. I definitely believe that it'll be something that they take him all the way up until being a game time decision. But just going off of what Raheem said yesterday, it's looking more and more likely that Drake London will be available, which is a major boon for this offense and for Kirk Cousins, because I mean, you don't have to look very far in the last game to see that there are some issues with receivers right now in terms of connecting with Kirk Cousins. There were at the end of the Jets game, when you're in this like 2-minute offense, gotta have it situation, there were 3 drops, and that had nothing to do, in my opinion, with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins put a ball in the hands of his guys They were good throws. They were the right decisions to make in the moment, and they were dropped. So the Falcons have to have more from their receiver core. And a major part of that is getting Drake London back because he has been reliable. He has been their number one option. He has been arguably playing at his best this season in 2025. And so I think like that is a major wrinkle of where the Falcons will need to get to if they even have a fighting chance against this team.
Yeah, that was probably the most surprising thing about watching some of the Falcons games and getting prepared for this is the 2-minute stuff didn't click. You know, they've had the lead in the fourth in the last 3 losses, right? 3 or 4, something like that. Yeah. So, and Kirk's usually good there, even if it's not going. If he goes into a final drive with about 180 yards, he'll take you 50 yards, go get a kick, or go get a touchdown. So yeah, like you said, not all on him. I want to read some. I'm a big stats guy. I love when when someone says something makes me want to look something up. I'll do it. Yeah. So this is under center percentage in 2024. Kirk was 30th in the league last year. Geno, for reference for Seahawks fans, Geno was 29th. So neither one of them was under center very much. Meanwhile, in the pistol, Kirk led the league, 36%, and I just looked it up. Penix, I think, is second to last in under center percentage. So there you go. That's been a big change, and I think that helps your run game so much.
It does
when you have the under center versus the pistol. Now, all right, let's get to. Let me get the name right. Pause. Come on, Mike, you got it. Bijan.
There you go.
Bijan Robinson. Been calling him by the wrong thing for a minute here. He hasn't said, once he said it, his name was how he wanted it to be said. Well, I'm on it. So this is, Tori, it feels like like an impenetrable force versus immovable object situation going between the Seahawks and Bijan here. It's actually Bijan. Damn it. I got it. Okay. I got it.
He says it goes both ways. It goes both ways.
I want to get it right. People get my name wrong, so I want to make sure I get people's name right. So that's I'm 1 for 2. All right, Bijan. I won't do it again. So let's get into some numbers here before I ask this question. Bijan Robinson 100-yard rushing games this year. He has 4. The Seahawks 100-yard rushers allowed 0. Something's got to give there. Although obviously running back hasn't done it every week. This one even more fascinating to me because in the world where teams use multiple backs, so Falcons running backs have combined for over 100 rushing yards 8 times this season, gone over 200 yards twice. Meanwhile, the Seahawks have only allowed running backs to combine for 100 rushing yards 3 times. And in those 3 games, they've given up 101 yards, 102, and 103. This is a very, very stingy Seahawks defense against one of the best running back pairings in terms of production. Tori, how do you see this matchup of the immovable force or the impenetrable force versus the immovable object playing out on Sunday in Atlanta?
Yeah, I don't think it looks good for Atlanta. I don't. And I say that because history has shown that, again, if you take Bijan Robinson out of the game, if you take the run game out of the game, the Falcons have struggled to be able to do anything thereafter. I look at, it was the Miami Dolphins game. At the time of that game, I believe the Miami Dolphins defense was 31st in the league in run defense. They were giving up like 6 yards per carry. They found a way to take Bijan out of that game. They found a way to minimize the run and to take it out. And what ended up happening thereafter was a loss. Like the Falcons lost to the Miami Dolphins. And I think that, that was also Kirk Cousins' first game starting again for Michael Penix Jr. Michael Penix Jr. was not out there. Drake London was not out there in that game. So you're kind of seeing a very similar set of circumstances and situations going into this weekend. And unless the Falcons can kind of play with their hair on fire a little bit, like I don't see being able to run the ball being something that they're going to be able to hang their hat on as much as they would like to. Now, that being said, I've seen Bijan Robinson do some crazy inhuman things. Like this is a guy who we did a whole like documentary on the art of the juke and what Bijan has kind of been. You can check that out on AtlantaFalcons.com. It's one of my favorite projects I've ever done about the science behind and psychology of what Bijan Robinson does on the field in terms of making people miss and the elusive nature of what he is. That being said, he can make some plays, but it's a matter of like the Falcons are going to need a lot. They're going to need a lot of plays from this run game against to your point, a defense that has shown they're not giving up anything in the run. They're not allowing teams to run the ball. So it's, to your point, it's going to be one of those games where I just worry about the Falcons offense being able to find a counterpunch to not having Bijan Robinson be at, 150 yards from scrimmage.
Sticking with Mr. Robinson, I'll just make it easy on myself.
No, come on, give it a shot. Give it a shot. I saw that. But come on,
Bijan.
There we go. There we go.
Bijan has 37% of the Falcons scrimmage yards so far this season, the highest team scrimmage yard share of any player in the NFL. So they are going to give him the rock. And I think that for a Seahawks defense, that could be maybe somewhat problematic because they have games where they just miss tackles. And you just wrote an incredible story about how he loves and embraces that challenge. And if you guys remember last season, he had a really good first half. He ended with, I think, 100+ yards. So I'm thinking he can have some success, but then I think you pair Drake London with that. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to lose, but I think that could just be more of a challenge. And hell, I don't know. How's Kyle Pitts doing out there?
Kyle Pitts he's all right. He's all right now. Like, I think he's coming off of actually one of his better performances this past week against the Jets. He was, I believe, the leading receiver, had 82 yards receiving. And what's interesting is there's this stat where the Falcons, if Kyle Pitts has more than, I think it's 70 yards receiving, the Falcons were going into last week 10-2 if he had more than 70 yards receiving. Now they're 10-3 because he had 82 last week and they lost. So he with Kirk Cousins and not having Drake London, there is a bigger piece of the pie that Kyle Pitts is being able to grab hold of. And I am curious to see what happens with that connection between Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts if and when Drake London does come back, because Drake London's going to be your number one option, like more often than he's not. And so how does that affect somebody like Kyle Pitts, who's been doing some good things for the organization in the absence of Drake? So it's a good question. I'm curious to see how it all ends up panning out.
Well, now that you brought it up, I had to do some research because that's an interesting stat with Kyle Pitts regarding their win-loss record. If he has, you said over 70 yards?
I believe it's over 70. I believe it's over 70 receiving yards.
Okay, well, to make it more interesting, the Seahawks played the Falcons in 2022. Kyle Pitts had 5 receptions for 87 yards. Mm-hmm. The Falcons won. And then, let's see, last year, Kyle Pitts had 65 yards and 7 receptions, and they lost. And I feel like there's one more game that I probably can pull up. But nonetheless, the Seahawks are 1-1 with that stat. So Kyle Pitts might be the key that unlocks everything. If he has 80 yards, it might be a rough day for the Seahawks. If he has less than that, Seahawks should be winning the football game. So I'm gonna pay attention to that. Thank you, Tori.
Yeah, you're welcome. We love random stats here.
Speaking of that, here, let me put that in the league-wide context. You mentioned something. I'm looking it up. Like me and Chris are like our own stat guys. It's great.
Right, yeah.
Heading into that Dolphins game, that was week 8. The Dolphins were allowing the most yards on the ground to running backs at the time. Mm-hmm. So 898 yards. Oh my God! In week 8, that's a lot. They were giving up 5.2 yards per carry. So strange things can happen. Sometimes teams just
they figure it out. Yeah, they figure it out
for whatever reason. These guys got pride. They get paid. The games are on TV. Everyone's got the film. And in terms of running back receptions, this is always an interesting one to look at. The Seahawks are allowing the fourth most yards, receiving yards to running backs.
See, that's interesting too, because that is something that they do use Bijan pretty frequently in the pass game, especially what he can do when he's the check down guy. If you leave Bijan open as the check down, Kirk is probably going to take it. And we see what Bijan Robinson does when he's out in space. And there are a lot of times where he's picking up some pretty good explosives off of something like that, and or the kind of bubble screens. They do that a lot as well.
I wonder how they're going to do that with the Seahawks defense. I imagine they're going to put Spoon a lot in those situations to basically, hey, Spoon, that's your guy. Mm-hmm. You see him, you're on him. So I'm excited to see that matchup because, yeah, Bijan is definitely a guy that you throw it to, for a check down, and it's a touchdown 30, 15 seconds later. He's that good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he is different. All right, what else did I have stat wise? I'm a nerd guy today. This is great. I'm nerding out.
I love it.
Early in the morning. Oh, here we go. I got one for you. This bodes well, I think, for the Falcons here. I'm trying to find some positives here for Atlanta because I want them to have some success. The Seahawks are giving up the third most receptions to tight ends this season. Let's see, it's 82. Only the Jags and Bengals have given up more receptions to tight ends. This is the same thing for yardage. Third most yards to tight ends this season is the Seattle Seahawks, 843 yards. Only the Colts and the Bengals, who have somehow given up over 1,100 yards. I don't know how that's possible, but they have done it somehow. Not a Bengals pod. I don't know how to dive into it, but Jesus, that is
crazy.
That's a hell of a number. All right. Let's switch to the other side of the ball real quick.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how the offense is underperforming with the context of having all these top 10 picks on offense. You got Bijan, Drake. Even watching the Jets game last night, he caught like a slant, ran over the middle. The announcer was like, "Wow, look at the speed!" And in my head, I'm like, "Dog, he was the fourth pick.
Yeah,
of course he's fast,
right?
Like, it's not a surprise that he can run. But on the flip side of that, as you kind of alluded to earlier, the Falcons used 2 first-round picks on pass rushers. You can almost even argue they used 3, technically, trading one to get James Pierce. To use 3 first-round picks on pass rushers. And what do you know? You get what you pay for. The Falcons have a pass rush now.
Wow.
Last year, they were 31st in sacks and 31st in sack rate. Awful. Leading sack getter was
Ebiketie.
Ooh, I botched that. All right. That name.
Close.
Yes. Arnold was the leader there. This year, this is a huge jump. This is probably one of the bigger jumps you're going to see in the NFL. The Falcons right now are 3rd in sack rate and 3rd in sacks. They're actually better than the Seahawks in both categories, which is crazy because the Seahawks are regarded as having this crazy good front. And then the 2 rooks are not the leaders, but they each have, I think, 5 sacks apiece, Walker and Pierce.
Yeah, so Jalen Walker is leading all rookies in sacks. James Pierce Jr. leading all rookies in quarterback pressures at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean that. So is it just a matter of personnel? What else has changed with the Falcons pass rush in a year?
Yeah, it's personnel because you have a lot of guys who I think have grown up really quickly. Like you look at James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. These are 2 rookie guys who came in, big expectations. You spend first-round draft picks on those guys. You need them to perform, and they have. But then on the interior, you have guys like Rukaroro and Brandon Dorless who have come into their own as second-year players. They didn't have a lot of opportunities to be big-time playmakers last year, didn't really have a lot of live reps. But this year, they are very heavily relied upon, and they have been true difference makers in that interior, the defensive line. You go out and you get Divine Diablo, who has been a incredible addition, almost like flying under the radar from a free agency standpoint, to come in and be that middle linebacker that has speed, height, length, all of it. He's relied upon within this defense to do so much, whether it be rushing the passer, whether it be in run defense or dropping into coverage. He's a former college safety, so he has that experience as well. So you have a lot of individuals that were new to this defense, and then you also have a new defensive coordinator in Jeff Ulbrich, and I think you have to give a lot of credit to Jeff Ulbrich for coming in, having a conviction about who he wanted each of these new faces to be, how he wanted to use them, and what they were going to be defensively. I think that he has schemed very, very well for this defense in a time where you had a lot of young guys, particularly in your defensive front, who you needed to help them out a little bit. So very early on in the season, the Falcons had one of the highest blitz rates in all of the NFL. And it's because you really couldn't, Jeff Ulbrich, I don't think knew if he had guys who could win one-on-one yet. Well, now here in the last few weeks, especially against the Saints, they've only been sending 4 guys, but it's because of the maturation of some of these young players that now they figure things out. They're understanding how to use their leverage against some of these offensive tackles, some of these interior guys, and they're still getting after the quarterback. So I think that what this defense has done in terms of their overhaul by name and also by production has been one of the biggest turnarounds in the NFL. Unfortunately, no one's talking about it because the Falcons can't win games.
Right.
If this is a team that was 8-4 instead of 4-8, there is no one who wouldn't be talking about what this defense has done over the course of the last year. But because you have 8 losses instead of 8 wins, it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, unfortunately. And one of those being to the Jets. That will not help as well.
Yeah.
Well, a bright spot on the defense as well is your cornerback, AJ Terrell.
Yeah.
Is he still that lockdown cornerback? I remember last season going up against DK. That was a really fun matchup. So how has he been?
AJ's been as advertised. I mean, he's one of those type of players that you actually sometimes don't hear his name called a lot. But I think when you're a lockdown corner, that's actually a sign of respect because guys aren't throwing his way. And he is making plays. He's continuing to make plays. His interception rate, that's never kind of been his strongest suit. He's not going to be this like big flashy interception guy as some other corners may be, but he is as physical as they come. And he is causing tight window throws and he's getting hands on balls. So AJ Terrell is continuing to perform at a high level in terms of cornerbacks, I think, across the league. And it's well-deserved because he signed this major deal in the offseason this past year. And that was something that I think looking at what the Falcons needed in the wake of Grady Jarrett kind of was the heart and soul of this defense for 10 years. And he has such a great story of like being a kid from Atlanta, 5th round draft pick. Well, he goes to the Bears and they've kind of positioned AJ Terrell as this Atlanta guy who you can kind of hang your hat on. He's kind of a quiet guy, but he plays a game that is so fun to watch when the ball is thrown his way. So I have nothing but, good things to say about what AJ Terrell has continued to be in 2025.
Well, we got a treat on Sunday because JSN, the best receiver in the NFL so far this season, he's doing it. Now, the Vikings, they did a good job and said, you're not allowing JSN to beat us. But this matchup between these two, how do you think it fares? Who wins the matchup? I guess to put it in simple terms, who wins this matchup, JSN or your boy AJ Terrell?
Oh man, I'll put money on AJ. Like AJ more time. I mean, there's going to be some, I've seen kind of what all of the stats are for your guy. And I do think that he's playing at a high level, but I also would be interested to see, I think AJ Terrell, you're going to give up something. Like guys are good. Receivers are good. They're going to make their catches. They're going to have their moments, but I think AJ Terrell more times than not can find a way to take guys out of the game. Whether or not that actually happens, TBD, but I've seen AJ do it before. So I'm not gonna knock him because he's done it.
Yeah, all right. I'm stat day. Let's keep it up. AJ, and this is interesting because I haven't watched the Falcons defense too much. So I was interested to see the numbers, how they stacked up. Passer rating allowed, according to PFF, 79.4. That's 20th among qualifying corners, guys who have played at least 200 snaps. So get some of the backups out of the sample there. For Seahawks, for context, guys, that's one spot behind Josh Jobe. So Seahawks fans are really high on Josh Jobe as like a guy. Let's keep him around. AJ's been just as good. AJ has not given up a touchdown this year and has 6 PBUs. That's really, really, really impressive. That's hard stuff to do. And to your point about how he kind of locks down without getting a lot of interceptions. Yeah, the year he was second team All-Pro, I don't think he had a pick. But he was just strapping up. And so that's kind of his game. Reminds me a little bit of Jair Alexander, who also was like All-Pro guy, but did not get a lot of picks. Just was like, you just can't throw it on me. That's my superpower.
Yeah.
Which works
Don't throw
too.
it to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever
no,
works.
that works as well. So yeah, that'll be a good matchup there. Yeah, AJ's a really good player. It's hard to not give up touchdowns in this league. I don't care who you are. Everyone does it. So to be at 0 to this point, maybe I just jinxed him. I don't know, but that I've jinxed people on the show before. Chris has jinxed people on the show before, so it's sometimes it is our fault when a guy either hasn't done a thing or usually always does a thing, and then the streak is broken one way or the other in the game. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for that as well. It's prediction time, Chris.
Yes,
before we get
sir.
Tori out of here.
Let's do it.
All right, who you got? Who you got in this one, Tori? I feel like we've given some good arguments mathematically for both sides. What you got?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be the Seahawks. I think y'all that team is playing too well, too good, whatever grammar is right now. Especially defensively. I mean, everything that we talked about, I think stands true. I think my prediction is that it's going to be a relatively lower scoring game. I would be surprised if the Falcons defense gives up a lot. They're not known to do that, but if there are turnovers involved, like how was against the Saints, I know that game, or not the Saints, the Jets, I know that game seemed that the defense gave up a lot, but there were a lot of turnovers that I think mattered towards that. So anywho, my prediction is going to be Seahawks. I'll say like 21, Falcons 13. I don't see this being a high scoring game for the Falcons. I don't really see the Falcons being able to score. Of course, I hope that, it's not the case, but I don't really feel like against this defense, even if Drake London comes back, that there's going to be a major change in scoring. I don't know if that's going to be the case. So that's my prediction.
All right, we got that written down. Before we get you out of here, I want to plug this Art of the Juke story.
Yeah.
So I haven't read it, so I'm gonna definitely check this out as well. So yeah, on AtlantaFalcons.com, the Art of the Juke. You type that in, it pops right up. This is a really cool graphic, actually. At the top of this. This is fire.
Our creative team really knocked it out of the park, and then there's a whole video on YouTube about it that my partner in this whole project, Jenny Ross, she put together, and I mean it's truly one of the more special projects that I think I've ever had the chance to work on, and I'm really proud of it. And so yeah, go check it out. It's anything just for football fans in general. It's so fun because Bijan Robinson, just the specimen, the human, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, no, his juke, like his jump cut, is as deadly as any one player's move. As Myles Garrett's jump or whatever one-handed George Pickens catches, Bijan Robinson's juke is about as good as anything. And I wonder if I won't show it to him, but Seahawks safety Coby Bryant is on this graphic. And knowing Coby, he's got like that legit Coby, I take things personal, Michael Jordan mindset. Hopefully he does not see that he is on this graphic, because I can guarantee 1,000% smoke will come from Coby's ears if he sees that he is on this graphic. So again, I won't show him, but we'll see how that goes. Tori, thank you so much for joining us on the Seahawks Man to Man podcast. Yes. Thank you guys all for listening. Make sure you subscribe, like, repost, reshare on our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our TikTok. Follow us on Blue Sky, X, Twitter, whatever Elon's calling that app these days. Make sure you follow Tori as well. Tori, plug your socials real fast before we get you out of here.
Yeah, at Tori_McElhaney on everything. So find me wherever. I'm around.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. We will catch you guys on our Standout Play segment. YouTube exclusive will drop Friday, and then our post-game show will drop Monday morning after Seahawks Falcons. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you later.